All right, guys, that's a lot of fun, and thank you, Tony, for sharing your amazing snakes. So when Tony was here, we actually did a cool interview because I wanted to talk to him a little bit about how he started his collection because he's somebody who's making some really interesting things. He's definitely following his own kind of path and road, making some really neat stuff, and yet he's started on a real budget. A lot of people ask me, "Do you have to spend a lot of money in order to do well in this business?" And I can say no, I can say yes, but the reality is that it's much more useful to hear from somebody who actually did start with just a little bit and has built an amazing collection over a period of time. So Tony's just the guy to talk about that. All right, guys, so this is exciting because we have Tony here, and like I said in the intro, he's got a unique story, a unique angle that he kind of has worked in this industry and has seen a lot of success, and is right, I think, right on the cusp of really doing even more incredible stuff. So I wanted to sit him down while he's here and like chat about kind of the way, the angle you've taken this and how it's worked for you.
Oh, absolutely. After the interview that or talk that you had with Miguel, something really stuck out to me, and I messaged you about it and kind of gave you my perspective on the way the industry in general is going, and how I kind of built a small business for myself and basically doing it from scratch. I grew up not having a lot of money. My family definitely took care of me. I had a wonderful family, but we just didn't have money.
Sure.
And I decided that one day that I wanted to breed some animals, and I got into dogs and discus fish and some other things, and kind of piddled around with it, made a little bit of money. Nothing really big. Over the course of years, I had snakes here and there, but nothing serious, nothing really super high dollar. One day I decided I wanted to get a ball python again. I had a couple and wanted to get another. And I ended up purchasing a Mojave subadult male from a guy in Florida, and I don't even remember the guy's name, unfortunately.
What was the general price tag of the animal like that? I mean, maybe you don't remember exactly, but approximately.
I guess this would have been around 2011.
Okay.
I want to say that I paid about $400, $500.
Yeah, that makes sense for the time it was. Yeah. Okay.
Which was a big step.
Sure.
Back then.
Yeah.
No plans of breeding. Just wanted it. I actually got it, put it in a glass tank. A couple months after I had it, I actually ended up acquiring 2 more ball pythons, which were told to me to be male.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I thought that they were awfully big. From what I had read up on, they were awfully big to be males.
So they were adults.
They were adults.
Okay.
And I actually took them to a vet to have them properly sexed. Well, it turns out they were both females.
Usually goes the other way.
Yes. Absolutely.
Usually people buy females, they end up being males. So that's a unique scenario there. That's awesome.
And why there was 2 of them, I have no idea. They were actually, the guy that I got them from, I actually had them in a 55-gallon glass aquarium together their whole lives.
Okay.
So I guess he probably never even took them to a vet or
never got any eggs because they're both girls. So okay.
I ended up with those 2, and from my past life of breeding dogs and fish, I naturally wanted to try to make baby snakes, and I did. That next season, I actually produced 16 or 17 eggs from both the females together.
Okay.
They both laid for me. I mean, they were massive females because they'd never been bred. They were, well in age, so they gave nice, healthy clutches right off the bat. Ended up hatching them, every one of them, and I believe that there were 7 Mojaves and 9 or 10 normals.
Okay.
And I had no idea what to do with these things.
You had not bred with the intention of selling them, and
never thought forward about any of this.
Sure.
I just wanted to make them.
Yeah.
And I think so many people, it's just something that you find fascinating. And it was. The absolute process was absolutely
Well, you said you'd bred, fish and dogs. And what I've seen is that there seems like it's almost like a breeder gene in people. Like from what I've seen, a lot of people who breed ball pythons, they've bred other stuff. There's something in people, some people who's like, I want to reproduce this. I want to make more of this, and they're just fascinated by that process.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's in me.
Mm-hmm.
I love animals in general, and I've always loved dogs and snakes in particular. And I wanted to do it.
Sure.
And I think there's just some of us out there that just have that passion.
Right.
I never thought about making any money. They laid eggs in a glass tank. I mean,
it shows you it's not as hard as people think to breed ball pythons.
yes, it's definitely not hard because
Right.
I had done very little research.
Mm-hmm. Nature finds a way.
It does always finds a way. So anyway, I actually hatched them and took them to a local pet store that I had dealt with when I had fish and stuff, and they were interested in buying them, and they bought all of them. I didn't feed them; they bought them pretty much straight. I think they had shed, but I never fed them or anything, and they bought the group as a group.
Okay.
Now, looking back, I wish I hadn't. I wish I had fed them because they probably resold them, probably not eating as well.
Possibly, yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
But I had a little bit of money then. I had sold both of those clutches, and instead of going and buying something that I really wanted to buy at the time, which God only knows what that would have been, I actually bought a sub-adult or probably 1,000-gram Mojave female because I had seen the Blue-Eyed Lucy, and I wanted to make one of those. And I had been researching enough to knew that Mojave would make a solid white, basically solid white with blue-eyed.
Sure. And at that time, they still weren't that common, really. I mean,
probably
you see them here and there, but yeah.
And then they were pretty valuable.
Sure.
So, sure enough, I found one at a local Repticon, and I don't remember if it was Atlanta or Columbia, but it was one of the two. Bought the female and took her home. Gave her some rats, fed her up, and she grew extremely huge, really quick. Got to about 1,500 grams. Started preparing her with the male, and she laid a clutch of 6 or 7 eggs. I don't remember how many eggs it was, but I ended up with 4 leucistics.
Okay.
So and
great odds, really great odds.
Yeah. I will never forget watching that solid white snake head pop out of that egg.
Okay.
I mean, from that point there, I was sold, completely sold. Mm-hmm. I knew that I wanted to do this. So those babies hatched out. I also I'd done the same pairing with the normals again. So that year I had 3 clutches, and I sold all of them to the pet store wholesale.
Gotcha. So before you go on, because this is a critique people had of Miguel's in my video, we didn't talk specific numbers. I don't know if you're comfortable on that small scale, just to kind of explaining what the numbers were like. So I know you put 400 into the Mojave. Mm-hmm. You spent a little bit of money on the 2 adult girls.
No, they were given to me.
Okay, they were given to you, but they would have been fairly inexpensive, probably. Right? And then that first clutch you sold to the pet shop, what kind of value did you get out of it?
I think I got about $800 for both of those original 2 clutches.
Okay.
And I think there was 7 Mojaves and the rest.
So you just about doubled your investment.
Yeah.
Just with 3 animals.
Yeah.
Okay. You obviously had some rats and stuff involved, but you purchased, but you could see how those numbers worked. And then you took and you reinvested that in getting the Mojave female, mm-hmm. which, those girls, they bring in the value really, really well. And then the second time, what would you pay for her? Do you remember that?
All of it. It was $800.
For the second Mojave girl, too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the only one that I could find at that show that had some size to it,
Okay.
and I wanted the size.
So you spent all the money you
I
got
spent all of it.
and reinvested it.
Yeah.
And then what would the value on that Blue-eyed Lucy clutch? What kind of value?
I think I got $200 or $250 a piece for those.
Okay.
On top of another, $600 for, well, I don't really know.
It's hard.
I
It's
never kept up with the money, but
right.
it was about $1,800 for all three of the second year clutches.
Okay. Well, so there you go. And I was telling you last night when we were talking about this a little bit. It's that practicality of understanding how it works early on. My first clutches were a pastel to normals, and I did the same thing in the sense that I had a simple situation. I bred the males, the females. They're just normals, but I made pastels, sold the pastels, saw the exact way it worked. But I completed all the different stages, and so did you, which is the breeding, the hatching, the selling, and then seeing how that all worked, and then reinvesting. And once you get your mind wrapped around that, then you can start to build off that a collection that actually can make money.
Yes.
Until you've done that, it's very theoretical. You might spend a lot buying a lot of animals, but until you've gone through those stages, it's hard to really wrap your mind around what's going to work, what's not going to work.
Absolutely.
Practically.
Absolutely. And even after the second year of it, I still took all the money and invested in the more.
Okay.
Like I told you earlier, Matt at American Made Exotics, I messaged him and was able to work out a deal with a group from him, and from there, it just exploded.
Sure.
Seemed like I was getting snakes in every so often, probably a group every month from there on out, up until my collection got big enough that I was producing more.
So, and how did you fund those additional purchases down the road?
What I would do is I would get a group of snakes in, usually from Matt. Let's step back for a second and talk about this. And I think this is extremely important. Customer service and answering those emails.
Yeah.
I had messaged probably a dozen people wanting to buy ball pythons. Had money, ready to buy. Not a lot of money, but had money. And Matt was the only one that actually responded to that. Not only responded to that, but seemed willing to actually work with me.
Keep some back and forth and actually eager to help. Huh?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. I actually ended up purchasing some leopard geckos and some ball pythons from him. And what I done was I kept a higher value snake out of that group. And I kept the group for a little while. Once they were what I seen were healthy and eating good, I actually sold the rest of those animals. And I would take the money that I recouped from those animals and buy another group from Matt. And I would always get one valuable snake in there that I wanted to keep. I would keep that animal and then sell the other animals, and kept doing that over and over. So I'm making enough money to keep adding snakes to my personal collection.
Right.
And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you shouldn't have flipped animals and this and that. But we all do it,
Yeah, I mean, I did that early on to an extent, not a ton, but certainly absolutely did it. But there's more to it. People don't understand necessarily what you're gaining when you do that, because first of all, you're letting the sales fund the animal that you really want. That's a way for someone to get animals without having money ready to go at the beginning. Okay, but the other thing is that, and this is something that I came to see as very valuable, is that so in the end, you went out and spent some money to get some animals. You ended up with an animal for free, the one you really wanted, right? Without coming out of pocket for it.
Right.
But the intangible is that you gained a lot of sales experience.
Absolutely.
And you gained customers who are going to be loyal to you going forward. And you, in the end, you didn't give up anything to get those customers. You didn't give up anything, and you made a lot of people happy. I would say the number one part thing, if anybody is thinking about doing that strategy, is do what he did, is find somebody that is really good reputation, so that, because you can't be taking in animals and reselling or anything like that if the animals aren't right, because that'll destroy you really fast.
Absolutely.
Really fast.
I've seen so many people buying animals and trying to resell them, and they shouldn't have been sold to start with, and then somebody's trying to resell them.
And transparency through that process is really important as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
And it really, when you're really trying to do that, it really makes you, for lack of better words, hustle.
it does.
It makes you work.
And you understand the market too, because you're actually in the marketplace, right? You're still maybe building your own collection, but you're not outside of the market. So while you're building, you're understanding what people want, where the value is, where people's interest lies, and that's a really important information that a lot of people don't get if they're just collection building.
Absolutely.
And not out in the market as well.
Well, you have to figure how much can I buy this animal for, to be able to put a price tag on it,
right?
So that I can actually recoup enough money.
So you understand the values of the animals, right? And you also know what animals are not gonna you're gonna end up sitting on.
Yes,
right?
that happens
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
So that's a really valuable information that you're getting for free because you're hustling, right?
And
sweat equity.
Your customer base. I mean, luckily we live in a small area. There wasn't really a lot of breeders there to start with. Not a lot of people were into reptiles, especially snakes.
Sure.
So you start getting a customer here, and then you get a customer from here, and from here and here, and then that customer in a small area is going to tell all their friends. So all of a sudden,
It's infectious.
You've just built a small community right around your area that never would have started. Had I started hatching out animals that were thousands of dollars right off the bat,
Right.
I don't know if I would have ever been able to sell them, because I had to get other people involved in this to build their collections, to want to buy more.
Right.
And that we all have to help each other.
That actually leads into an interesting discussion I've had with some people about. People are saying, well, you know, what do you want? Does everybody already know who you are, Justin, and all that? I'm like, not really, because this is all more local than people realize.
Absolutely.
It's much more local. And I see that sometimes when I talk to people and they're like, oh, my favorite breeder is so-and-so. I'm like, I don't know who that is, right? But it's most likely the person that actually can interact in person with them that is their guy. That's their person that they trust and is their source of knowledge. The internet's great, but the internet can do so much.
Absolutely.
And people like you and others who build a community in their area by making individual sales and mentoring people, helping people, you have more influence than you know, and you build your own market through doing that.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So how did you take it from there? After you kind of went through that zone, what happened when you started producing a larger number of animals? And
I never really stopped doing that till about 2 years ago.
okay.
Even the more clutches I would hatch, I would always take that money and keep it in separate.
Sure.
And reinvest it in some type of way. And back to the local thing is, I never shipped snakes till 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Oh wow.
At
Okay.
tops. So it was all local for me. And being local is actually how I met Bob at Bob's Balls. Become friends with him, and he's a great guy. Has a huge network as well. So I was able to kind of mingle in with his network and meet more people and do more local stuff, and then started reaching out to other people. You included into that. So I just kept taking money and putting it right back into it. You know, if my truck was tore up, or if the air conditioning unit on the house was tore up, that didn't come out of snake money. That come from
That money was building something. You wanted to leave it put.
And I did, and I continued to roll that money over every year.
Okay.
Every year it gets rolled over. It wasn't until last year that I actually took money out of the snake money. We put a roof on our house that was paid for by that. We paid off some medical debt that was paid for, funded by that. And then this year we were lucky enough to have a second child who's in the room now.
That's why you're hearing the baby sounds.
And I wanted my wife to stay at home.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, we were able to make enough money to have that happen. So it's just crazy how quickly it came. I say quickly, it seemed like forever ago, but at the same time, it just it feels like it happened.
Especially when you're doing what you love, right?
Absolutely.
And you're really passionate about it.
I never would have dreamed that I would have been able to be sitting in this chair talking to you, buying snakes from you without it affecting a 7-week-old son that we just had.
Well, it's a testament to how much work you put in. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, how much hustle. So I want to make sure we talk a little bit about your kind of unique collection decisions, because you built a unique collection that is, in a lot of ways, not similar. You followed your own road, basically. You have a lot of things that are not similar, and we'll look at some of those animals a little bit that you brought up that are really unique. Tell me how you kind of came to do that and what informed those decisions.
I don't really know where I ever seen the first blackhead.
Okay.
I don't recall where I seen it at. But when I did see it, I knew I had to have it.
What was it about the animal? Was it a single gene?
Yep, single gene, blackhead male, and that I bought. I actually bought it when I seen it, and
so you like the dark side?
I cannot remember. Absolutely.
Of ball pythons.
Absolutely. And I seen, because I had a lot of Mojaves then, I seen something. I'd never seen the blackhead Mojave.
Okay.
But I seen something with those two together, and I wanted to make one just to see what it would look like.
So you had a vision for it.
I had a vision for it.
That's awesome.
Well, I didn't end up making the blackhead Mojave. I bred the blackhead male that I bought, adult male. I bred him to a Mojave girl, the original Mojave girl. She didn't go that year, but I had picked up a lesser female that did.
Okay.
And I was able to make a blackhead lesser.
Okay, which is also very impressive.
It is. I actually prefer that now. Looking back, I actually prefer the blackhead lesser. And when you start seeing the collection, you'll actually see the blackhead lesser influence in a lot of these snakes, because that original blackhead male was sired the males to make stuff that I still have.
Right.
I no longer have him, and I no longer have the blackhead lesser male, but I still have blackhead inchy lesser male.
Okay.
That he originated from.
Which is a fantastic combo. Did you bring that
Beautiful.
one?
No, I did
not.
not.
Okay.
I did not.
Probably
I have his son.
Okay. Okay.
That has even more to it.
Awesome.
So we'll take a look at that one, but I don't know. Everybody kept telling me that Ralph had done all that there was to do with the snake. There was nothing.
No one's ever
else.
done everything there's to do with any snake. Period.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I actually had I had acquired a orange dream female, and I had previously made a blackhead yellow belly.
Okay.
And I bred the blackhead yellow belly to orange dream. Made some stuff that you can only imagine that people said you're wasting your time. Blackhead orange dream doesn't go together.
Or they're just common genes and not worth it.
Exactly.
We hear it all the time.
And honestly, the blackhead orange dream yellow belly, it's not super impressive. But there was just something about that I seen the next step. I seen something there. Maybe itself wasn't 100% what I wanted, but I could see a building block.
You knew it was a stepping stone to where you wanted to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've used that male for going on 2, maybe even 3. I think this second year I've used him. And yeah. So.
Well, the cool thing is because the unique choices you made with blackhead, and then how you've mixed them all together, it puts you into a really narrow part of the industry in the sense that very few other people are going to have animals that are highly similar. And people who share your vision, which includes me, when you see those animals, they're like, oh wow, I need something like that. And they have very few people they can come to. You pretty much have a captive market at that point. Like, people have to come to you because you have forged your own path there. That's really unique.
Yeah, I never really thought about that
Yeah.
till you said something. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's not I mean, like I said, everybody kind of just dropped the blackhead and didn't really do anything with it, or was making Mojave stuff, or some people were making lesser stuff, but everybody just kind of dropped the project, and I don't know. It's still to this day, I love blackhead stuff. I love single gene blackheads.
We've seen so few of the supers.
So few of the supers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the world's going to give us for some of the super combos, and even the super orange dream blackhead. There's super inchy blackhead stuff. It's a whole world of things that can still come from this.
Right.
And nobody's going to know if somebody doesn't do it.
That's right.
I don't have to do this because I have to. I do this because I want to. And there's no better joy from that than getting to see that end project. Right. And let's face it, sometimes it's a bust.
Yeah.
But not very often.
But even the busts, I think you'll agree, is that when you see that animal, you can see like, okay, it wasn't what I expected, but it only needs this to get to where I need it to be, or it only needs that little direction. So even in the failures, I think you find that there's a lot of information that's really valuable towards where you want to be.
Yeah.
So
I look forward to see what happens with the Blackhead project, and it's not the only project I work with, but it's certainly a key element in my personal collection, and I have my absolute favorite gene, and I'm so thankful that I had the ability to make some of these animals that nobody's really, either they haven't made it, or they have made it but just not emphasized on it enough.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, we'll look at some of the animals, but again, I just wanted to highlight Tony because he is somebody who has taken a very limited budget. Like you said, we kind of left that out of the video with Miguel. We didn't talk about how to start things with a very limited budget, and I get tons of questions about that. But no one better to answer than someone who's actually done it. But through just really, really wise moves and a lot of sweat equity, right? And a lot of patience, has seen a lot of success. Not just financially speaking, but in the sense of making animals that actually matter, making projects that are unique, and so I think that's something that everybody can learn something from.
Absolutely. I hope this kind of reaches people that kind of in my shoes that don't have a lot of money to invest, but do have a passion for it.
Right.
Because Lord knows if I can do it, then there's so many others that can do it as well.
The other thing is that even if you do have a lot of money to invest, and you have invested or will be, you're still going to need all those exact same qualities, because the money is never going to be enough.
It's never.
I've seen it happen so much. The amount you put in, it's not irrelevant as far as the amount of speed you get going, but longevity, the amount of money doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
No.
Not toward long-term success. You have to have all those qualities.
Absolutely. We see people all the time spending, tens of thousands of dollars investing in this business, and a few years later they just
you have to have a vision. You have to have that hustle. And we talked about last night a little bit, is that you have to have a relatively stable lifestyle. You can't have you making major life changes for years sometimes in order to create the snowball effect that you need to, and you can't buy a stable lifestyle.
Absolutely.
You can't buy the work ethic that comes in on Sundays when all your buddies are watching football and you've got to clean snakes. You can't buy that work ethic, and so those are the parts that in the end really determine success, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. So let's look at some animals.
Absolutely.
Awesome.